Hey guys, what's up? It's June 28th, 2012, and I have a video out here about things you might want to consider before you run out. Like, say your video card is, not the greatest, but it has an SLI or Crossfire X finger, and you're saying, I want to SLI and Crossfire this, and I have the extra physical slot, I should go buy this. Well, this is something you should consider before you go out and spend however much money it would be for the identical video card. So first up is how old the card is. This is kind of a given because, like, say you have a Radeon 4000 series or a NVIDIA 200 series, that only has DirectX 10, so you should probably just buy a new DirectX 11 video card. But also, those video cards will be pretty old and hard to find. So that's the other thing is that if it's a hard to find video card, they might be charging outrageous prices for it. Like, this is just an example in processors of how much they overcharge for old stuff. But a Core i7-8800 goes for around $700 on eBay, and that's just insane. Like, Core 2 Extremes I know are a little bit more. They're not really reasonable because you could buy like a Core i5 for the price. But they go for like $230, and I'm like, why would you buy that? It's just worth it to jump ship and spend all that money on like a decent mid-range motherboard and a Core i3 or something like that. But anyway, the second thing to consider is whether the card has good results doing SLI or Crossfire X. And I'll explain how you can figure out if it doesn't have in the reviews, like on Newegg, whether it has good results. So some example cards are like the Radeon 7770 that has outrageously good doubling, like 95 to 100% I've seen, and the 560 Ti and non-Ti, not the 448 though. That's a little that drops a little bit, like in value. I mean, not performance definitely, but that. And so the reason that would be is and this also kind of ties into the next fact, which is lanes of PCIe. So you have a certain amount of lanes that can run off your processor, because the processor actually coordinates the lanes of PCI, or more of the chipset. And so you have to figure out, some cards just don't use all X16 of them, which is the modern slot for it. Some only use like 4 of it, or like 10 of it, I don't know. But because X8 slots are very rare, as well as X4 slots, and those just don't come, they make it X16 because it's more streamlined and, easier to get the parts for. But some, like the 770 and the 560 non-Ti and Ti, don't use all of that. So you don't see a performance drop if your processor can't run all of the lanes of PCI. Make sense? And then also, my last thing is how many lanes of PCI. And this part's just going to be about, I have no idea. All of the ones I researched are modern chipsets that are kind of $100 to $300 range. Sandy Bridge / Ivy Bridge has 16 lanes of PCI. Now, if you install like an X1 slot video card, you're not going to see a drop down in your frame rates from your video card, but because most of them don't use all 16, they use like 15 or something. Sandy Bridge E has 40 lanes, which puts this in a much better position to run multiple Crossfire X or SLI things without an N-Force chipset or a additional chipset for Crossfire, which I'll explain that for my fourth thing. Bulldozer, there's a few different ones because they have the different chipsets for Bulldozer. 990FX can run 2 X16 slots or 4 X8 for cards. So if you're running 4 video cards, it'll go to X8. If you're running 3, it will go to X4. It will go to X8. So be careful of that. If it's like 2 really expensive video cards versus 3 mid-high range cards. 990X can run 1 X1 or 2 X8 cards. That platform does not support on the base chipset 3 or 4 way SLI or Crossfire X. Now, the 970 chipset does not support SLI, and you can run 1 X16 or 2 X8. Basically, the difference between that and the 990X is that the 990X can run SLI. So the fourth thing is to consider whether your motherboard has an additional chipset, and this is usually in higher end motherboards that people have consideration of running multiple cards. Some examples are the Enforce 200 and 400 chipset, and I don't know the ATI ones. Probably look them up. They're just additional chips that work with the chipset on your motherboard that comes with like the P67 or Z68 or Z77 or the 990FX, and they work with it so that it can coordinate more lanes of PCI without dropping the extra lanes. This is also something to consider, just a little side note, if you want to run dual GPU versus 2 single GPU cards, is that if you don't have the extra lanes, like I run Sandy Bridge and I have a 5970, it would work better than 2 5870s because they would both run an X8 slots. So that's just also something to consider. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Recommend it to all of your friends who are looking to see if they want to run a Crossfire SLI chipset, if they want to run a configuration of SLI or Crossfire X. So, have a good day. Remember to like, favorite, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys later.